motorized action packs for fighting in close and going where vehicles can't.
Cobra's hiding on that hill.
The rope walker, radar station, anti-aircraft gun, and helicopter.
Here comes Cobra with the counterattack. Battling Joe with Cobra action pack.
Rope crosser, borer, mountain climber, and pom-pom gun.
Cobra! Yo, Joe!
G.I. A real American hero.
Live the of G.I. Joe. Action packs and figures sold separately.
Joe!
Hello and welcome to the General's Reviews. I'm Chris McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80 from the Full Force podcast, and I'm joining Justin Bell from What's on Joe Mind and GeneralsJoes to bring you this review of the G.I. Joe Collectors Club FSS4 Tiger Force sneak peek. Before Justin takes a look at this figure, let's get into the history of the character from his first appearance through to now. Sneak peek, oh sneak peek. You look like a sex pest and you have a code name to match. All joking aside, Peek's got one of the hardest jobs in the team, advanced recon. He has to get up close and personal in order to relay intel back to the Joe team, a speciality that was often used in the Marvel comics, especially on Cobra Island during the Civil War. Over issues 71 through 77, he was pivotal in relaying info of the battle between Cobra Commander, Serpentor and Destro in a recon team that consisted of Dial Tone, Tunnel Rat, Spirit, Gung Ho and Falcon. He popped up a few times afterwards, but his last appearance, or so we thought, came in issue number 113, heroically dying whilst protecting a child caught in a crossfire. The same issue claimed the lives of all but one of the Battle Force 2000 team, and even included a sad flashback from Dusty when recalling a Christmas spent with Sneak Peek and his family. Dusty makes sure to bring him back as per the mother's wishes. I know, bummer, right? Well, all is not lost. In the return of the Real American Hero continuity from IDW many years later, Larry Hama brought the Joe's Advanced Recon Specialist back with almost zero explanation in issue 164, and then retconned him in to explain how he came back to life in later issues, claiming that he faked his death to go under deep cover in Darklonia. Phew. Another cool note regarding the character is that he was given the file name Owen King, famous author Stephen King's son, in honour of either Owen or Stephen, depending on who tells the story, creating the Cobra hypnotist Crystal Ball. His first figure was released in the US in 1987 and was a completely original build. We didn't get this version in the UK and Europe, but we did get an exclusive repaint that we will come to later. He is probably remembered more for his giant telescopic tower accessory that looks like a 2-up of Outback's flashlight than anything else. He also came with a walkie-talkie, binoculars, a mic that clipped into the side of his helmet, and a rifle. A pretty solid loadout, if you pardon the expression. The following year saw Sneak Peek get a makeover for the Night Force sub-team. Makes sense that they would have an advanced recon in their ranks, and the deco really suited the figure, probably more so than the original colour scheme. He was carded with Lieutenant Falcon in a Toys R Us exclusive 2-pack, as all the Night Force figures were. He got all the same accessories as his previous incarnation, only all in black. Of course, it's night. That brings us to the version that the FSS4 figure is based on, the pre-Brexit European exclusive Tiger Force sneak peek. Chalk up another win in the Euro column. This figure came out in 1991 in a complete roster of new exclusive Tiger Force characters that included Blizzard, Hit and Run and Tunnel Rat. This new team of Tiger Force repaints added to the previous two releases the year before of Psych Out and Outback. What was very interesting were the file card and artwork differences. All the characters with the exception of Tunnel Rat got new birthplaces, and Blizzard and Hit and Run got new file names. Sneak Peek went from Bangor, Maine, USA to High Wycombe, Buckinghamshire, UK. Quite a significant difference. What's really interesting on these particular releases, however, is the card art. As the European market had issues with guns and their use on children's toy packaging, some of the poses were altered from the original art. Where the characters were holding their weapons originally, now they are in the background, held by the butt or just flung over their shoulders. In Blizzard's case, he's simply clenching his fists. Sneak Peek's colour scheme is quirky, but totally fits for this odd sub-team deco. I especially like the tiger stripes on the padded elements on his uniform, most notably his codpiece, or the tiger cod. This was the only version of Sneak Peek I had as a kid, but I was aware of the first release thanks to the reprinted Marvel comic stories in our own comics, namely a holiday special that covered a few comics in the Cobra Civil War. Not necessarily a version of Sneak Peek, but using the same sculpt, was Brazilian release by Osfera. With a deco Boss Fight Studio would be proud of and a complete change of specialism, this South American eco-warrior really stood out in a crowd. unless of course that crowd was in a German disco in the 80s. Again, not technically sneak peek, but any excuse to throw up something that looks like the offspring from a Las Vegas neon sign orgy party. That leaves us with the current FSS 4 figure that Justin is looking at today, and the upcoming regular deco sneak peek in the FSS 5, which doesn't exist yet, so we will just mention it here and that's it. Enough from me, take it away, bell fingers.
This is Justin from GeneralsJoes.com taking a look at another Generals Joe and Tell review from the G.I. Joe Collectors Club Figure Subscription Service 4.0 Tiger Force Sneak Peek. Like I said in the Outback review, I am a little bit behind the times, but I'm taking some time to go back and kind of clean up some loose ends, and I covered so many of the Figure Subscription Service figures from Series 4.0, I figured I might as well wrap it up. So we're looking at Tiger Force Sneak Peek with this particular video, and we will start off by looking at the artwork. And let's see, here we have the card art. Like with Outback, I didn't take the time to do any of this filming before I opened them up, so I know it's not optimal, but it's got some kind of card rips in the lower right hand corner. I apologize about that, but I at least wanted to give a look at the really nice artwork that is done for this figure, as it always is. I think Adam Richards did this. He does the majority of these FSS 4 figures, and he really does an impressive job. He gives them a very kind of vintage-esque look and feel, but he makes sure to include all the new components, like this version of Sneak Peek obviously has his pretty new periscope, which is a cool touch, but he still got that explosion back. Very vibrant card, very vintage feel. The back of the card is the same way. It's got that big version of the front card art, and then of course there's the file card. Like I mentioned with Outback, in the UK or in Europe when they did these Tiger Force exclusives, I believe these characters were actually different characters. They weren't the same characters as the American versions, but the G.I. Joe Collectors Club likes to keep the characters the same, just make them Tiger Force versions. So as you can see, this file card is written as if this was the American version of Sneak Peek, only in a Tiger Force team, which is unlike what you would see from an actual Action Force file card. But I can see why they do it. They want to tie it all together, kind of tie in the continuities and the different versions of the figures. But the artwork is very good, as it always is. And now we will look at the sneak peek figure. I'm changing, the format of these video reviews is an ever-evolving thing. So I'm trying some new stuff. I've got kind of a new backdrop, as you can see. Make things a little bit more vibrant instead of just the plain white or the plain gray. It's all Chris's fault. He told me to do it. He said I was boring. And he's probably right. Anyway, here's Sneak Peek. Sneak Peek is obvious. This is, interestingly, the Tiger Force version of Sneak Peek is the first modern version of Sneak Peek that we've gotten. We are slated to get a regular classic version in FSS 5, but for, I believe we are anyway, I kind of forget, but this was the first version of Sneak Peek we got, and they made him a European Tiger Force exclusive, which is kind of cool because the colors are pretty exciting. I like the brownish green, I like the light blue, very trademark European Tiger Force look. So, I mean, this is what they looked like back in the 80s when they did these special exclusives. He's got the tiger patterns on his shoulder pouches here. He's got the tiger pouches on the vest underneath with the grenades. He's got the helmet. He's got some binoculars. He's got this cool little radio, I think, which originally came with the Pursuit of Cobra Lowlight, which actually has a little peg on it that you can plug into various things. It's got a little removable phone, which is really awesome. Every time I run into one of these Pursuit of Cobra accessories, I'm just reminded how badass that entire toy line was, and it makes me sad. Sneak Peek himself, speaking of Pursuit of Cobra, is mostly the Pursuit of Cobra Shock Trooper. He's got the Snake Eyes torso, I believe, that kind of commando vest, but the arms and legs are all Pursuit of Cobra Shock Trooper. Looks like what he's got is maybe 25th anniversary scrap ironed vest. To kind of replicate the Tiger Force look. I'm not a big fan of that vest for Sneak Peek. I think they chose a different one for the FSS 5. I'm almost positive they did, in fact. He's got this pretty typical M16. I'm going to take off. He's got, the helmet is removable, and he's got, God help me if I can remember what head that is. Airborne, maybe? The G.I. Joe Collectors Club uses it a lot, I will say that. You could probably get all these clones together. We'll move the binoculars here. And you can get a good look at kind of the scrap iron vest. Like I said, I'm not a big fan. It doesn't replicate the look of Sneak Peek all that well. But it does hold that tiger stripe motif kind of cool, kind of nicely, and I do like the grenades, even though it doesn't really look like what Sneak Peek's original vest looked like. They did, I think at JoeCon, when they revealed this figure, they asked or when they revealed the FSS 5 figures, they did ask if people would rather see a different vest for the updated Sneak Peek, and the resounding vote was yes. So we know that FSS 5 Sneak Peek is going to have a different vest. You know, I hate to complain about using Pursuit of Cobra parts because they do have some great articulation. They generally have really nice sculpting, really great range of motion. There's a lot to love about all these Pursuit of Cobra parts. But the fact remains that they use so many of these Pursuit of Cobra parts, it can feel somewhat redundant. And, you know, the majority of this figure is a Pursuit of Cobra Shock Trooper, which I have 10 of in my collection. So as you mess with them, you're kind of like, okay, well, you know, I've felt this a dozen times before. What's the big deal? But, you know, the Collectors Club has limited access to new tooling. It seems like, you know, I don't want to cast aspersions on how they kind of design their figures, but it seems with every series of FSS we get less and less new parts. I'm not sure what the reasoning for that is. I think it probably goes beyond something other than just cost. You know, I would like to think that there's not a big reason why they can't keep producing new parts. It's been disappointing. It's tough for me to complain when we've got a big, huge new periscope with this version of Sneak Peek, but it's obvious. You know, with each series of the FSS that comes out, there's less and less new parts available, and which is a shame because these figures are expensive, and you would like them to have as much newness as possible for $25 to $30 per figure, and they simply don't. You know, you get one new head sculpt here, another new head sculpt there, maybe two per series, a couple new accessories. In this case, we did get a pretty amazing new periscope. So like I said, I might have picked a bad figure to complain about that with, since we do have this great new piece that's got, you know, a great double handle thing, a great new kind of eyepiece on the back, lots of cool intricate detail. This periscope is really fantastic. So maybe I should just shut my mouth about no new tooling, because we got a pretty decently accessorized version of Sneak Peek here. But anyway, I don't think too many people will argue with that there's less and less new tooling per release, which is too bad. It would be nice, considering the FSS is such a major conduit for new figures for us, but that's me bitching. So anyway, but Sneak Peek, you know, and this figure kind of comes off being a little bit generic military for my taste. Sneak Peek looked really unique for, you know, in 1987. He had the rolled up sleeves, he had those big knee-high black metal boots. He didn't look like a generic military figure. He had this really cool quilted ribbed vest. This version of Sneak Peek just looks like a kind of a dialed down, more quote-unquote realistic version of Sneak Peek, which is okay, I guess. But when you're going for realism, you know, is the green and baby blue orange guy who you want to go realism with? I don't know. I would have loved it if they could have dialed up the unrealism a little bit and made him a little bit more vibrant and exciting. But, you know, I get it. The majority of adult fans of G.I. Joe are interested in the real world military, so I can see why the Collectors Club kind of stuck with that concept here. And this is Sneak Peek. He basically comes with everything you see here, which I've already covered. This is the first version of the character, so I can't really do much comparison shopping at this point. Once the FSS 5 version comes out, I can give you a little look at how that version differs from this version. But essentially, this is a quick and dirty version of the Tiger Force Sneak Peek. I really like the color scheme. I'm not a big fan of the parts. I wish they'd made them a little bit different than just a straight Pursuit of Cobra Shock Trooper repaint with a Snake Eyes torso. The Sneak Peek was pretty unique, and they kind of took away some of that uniqueness in my mind. But the figure is still fun, still nicely accessorized. He displays really well with the Tiger Force Outback, which we already looked at. And overall, he's a pretty fun figure, even if he doesn't completely wow me. So that is General's Joe Intel. That's the look at the figure subscription service 4.0 Tiger Force Sneak Peek from the G.I. Joe Collectors Club. And thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to Chris Diagnostic 80 McLeod for putting this thing together. Thanks for visiting GeneralsJoes.com and my YouTube channel. I am going to try to get more consistent with these videos going forward. I appreciate your patience as I work through some other priorities in life. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you saw, please like the video. Please consider subscribing. Leave a comment down below if you think anything could be improved. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching this review by Justin Bell of GeneralsJoes.com and What's on Joe Mind, and from myself, Chris McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80 from the Full Force. If you've enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and let us know what you think on any of our numerous social networking platforms. Goodbye and see you next time for another Generals Review.